Okay, what's going on, guys? Welcome to a brand new episode of Energized. Ross, introduce the guest, man.
Straight out of SBG Port Arlington, it's the main man, it's the honey badger, it's Philip Mulpeter. Phil, how you doing?
That's the best intro I've ever got. Brilliant. I'm great, lads. Really good. It's great to be back in the show.
Man, I'll clip that up for you and I'll send it on to you and you can have it forever.
Love it. Love it.
Phil, we were just saying off air, it's almost been a year since we've had you on the show. Like, a lot of things have changed, but how are you?
Man, isn't it? Like, it's crazy times, really. There's a lot of things changed. Like, I had so many projects, like my gym, obviously, and Gamma. They all just like came to a sudden stop. So, just trying to keep positive and keep training. And I had a couple of the fighters still going, so I've been kept busy. Yeah, and I'm working away as well. So yeah, I'm sick of it now, to be honest, and I'd like to see the back, like everybody else. But like, I think we're nearly there, hopefully, and get back to some normality.
Yeah, but I suppose you did get a lovely trip over to Bahrain there 2 weeks ago. When your
I was thinking you looked a bit tan for the people on YouTube.
What's called that was great to see. Let's talk a bit about SBG Port Arlington for a minute. Obviously, one of the big stories of the year was the gym was suffering financially, and then Conor stepped in to help. Do you want to tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, so like basically what happened was, we had to pay rent the whole way through, still paying rent, and obviously we're not allowed to run classes for basically the last year. So yeah, we just ran out of money, and I was we weren't really like closing, like we weren't shutting down SVG Park. It was kind of like a little holiday. We were going to put into storage, wait till everything passed by, and then get back on again. But Conor obviously stepped in. It was like, I was like rock bottom. I was like, fuck, I was sitting in the gym, like had to think about taking up mats and everything. And I was like, fuck it anyway. Then Conor rang, and he looked after me, something shocking. I can't thank him enough for it. But I'm actually having to move unit now anyway, would you believe? And in the end, we ended up having to do it anyways. But we're in a great position now to come on strong after COVID settles. And and it's all thanks to Conor. And he's helped me out a few times down through the years. And I'm lucky, like not everybody has an old teammate like Conor McGregor to help them out. So I feel for all the gyms in Ireland, to be honest with you, because there's going to be a lot more, I think, closing down or very, very close to it at the minute.
Yeah, I think especially the ones who wouldn't have as many pros as some of the bigger gyms as well, bringing that cash in. But again, like, you know what I mean? A lot of guys love to jump at the chance to bash him in the press, but on this occasion, he was the hero. And you know what? He did a few things over lockdown. You know what I mean? He donated a lot of PPE across the country as well, and he's a massive help to Crumlin's Children's Hospital at all times. So he
does a lot of charity work. He does a lot of charity work that nobody like hears about, like seriously amount of it, like, and it goes under the radar. We know we always hear about his antics, which are like, listen, we all have our flaws, and but like the chap does a lot of good work around Ireland for Irish people, you know, and it does go under the radar.
Put it this way, what's called, I wouldn't mind anyone throwing any amount of dollies through the bus if they start dishing out $1 million to charity here and $1 million to charity there. You know what I mean? So look, you know what I mean? I'd probably be willing to do a lot worse for $1 million quid. You know what I mean?
You'd find Ghani for 5 million, wouldn't you? Just put that out there.
Yeah, exactly. But tell us a bit about Port at the moment. Obviously, you have matches coming through there. Is there anyone else we should be looking out for?
Yeah, we've a lot of young guys coming through that are they've only trained with me, started out with me, and they've got like a similar style to myself. Good jiu-jitsu, good grappling, you know. Teenagers, a few of them have competed in the IMAF, the junior championships, the world championships. None of them medal now, but they've done really well, like their first kind of time competing on a big stage. So yeah, the prospects in Port are coming along. They're still training away. A lot of them are at home still. Like, I'm doing online videos for them and stuff at the minute. So actually get a little plug in for that. I'll be releasing my MMA fitness shortly. It'll be an online app for just keeping training at home with no equipment, solo drills. So they've all been doing that. Obviously they're looking forward to getting back to the gym too. It's been hard, boys. It's hard for everybody, you know. So like to keep those young guys and a few of my like top prospects have fell off the bandwagon too, and I haven't seen them in a while, and it'll be hard to get them back in. And you know, I had big hopes for some of them, and yeah, it's hard to keep them motivated. You know, when you're not allowed to meet anybody. It's like, you know, I think the lockdown's doing a lot of damage, unseen damage too. It
Yeah,
obviously is
definitely.
helping with COVID, and it needs to be done, but like, I don't know, it's hard going.
I totally understand that, Phil. And when you do get that app up and running, give us a shout and we'll do an swipe up for you to shout it out. And then if you are one of those prospects who hasn't been on to Phil in a while, drop him a text. You know what I mean? He's dying for you to have you back in there.
Yeah, he's dying to choke someone out right now. But come here, Phil. You're doing great things with Gamma. Obviously, like for people that haven't seen it, like the way you run the social media is brilliant. Like obviously, like myself and Ross were promoting the likes of Clan Wars and Cage Eggs. We were dying for it to get back, and then everything's been like wiped off the table now for the foreseeable. Like what sort of effect do you think that's going to have on Irish MMA over the next couple of years?
Like Irish MMA at the minute is just non-existent, isn't it? Like basically we're not allowed to train. You know, we've no shows unless you're a pretty high level pro. You've no shows. You know, even the guys that are only 1 and 2 and 0, they're going to get it hard to get their starts. You know, in the bigger shows. But yeah, like I think though once we do get back, it'll be just like it'll be like a January where everybody's just going to pile back into gyms. You know, and hopefully we just pick up where we left off. You know, with Gamma, we have like, we're ready to go. Conor actually is sponsoring us kind of with that as well. Like he's helped it out. He loves the show and he loves the Irish roots and the Gaelic team. So like we're ready to go with that. We've a couple of shows booked out, like our jiu-jitsu shows, and the novice MMA is booked out. So we're just waiting to get the right time. We're even breaking it down. We're just gonna like break it down to like only having white belts in one day, blue belts the next day, you know, so that we can get them done even within restrictions. You know, just as soon as we're allowed to have an event inside, we'll be running them shows. Then Gamma, we're going to be releasing, or we're going to be doing our first MMA show, amateur MMA show. We planned on doing it this summer, but like I don't think it's going to happen this summer, to be honest. Maybe we might get it in 21. Like I don't know, like depending on how this vaccine rolls out and everything goes. But like I'm telling you, there'll be big plans for Gamma next year, and the social media is run by my partner Calvin Doyle, and he's just like, he's a big MMA fan, and the two of us are working together, and we've got like big dreams for it, and it's like just waiting to happen. So as soon as we're just allowed back in running events again, it's going to explode. So yeah, it's exciting, but it's like I'm like, come on,
put the cork back on the champagne.
And Phil, when that does get up and running, what way are you gonna have people view it? Is it gonna be a streaming stream, or what way is it gonna be?
Like we have the whole streaming set up for ourselves. Like Calvin's a media guy, so he like that's what he done, and he studied that, and he runs his own company doing that kind of thing. So like we have like really high a really good production, and we're gonna like refine it through our jiu-jitsu and our novice tournaments, and then once our amateur MMA goes, it'll be top of the range. When it comes to production, we wanted like really high level, and like again, we're aiming at getting the novice guys in Ireland started without having to go to amateur, you know, and having to fight in like a club, or you know, where there's drink involved and all that. Just a real like calm event where you can come in. There's no headshots involved, you know. You can go to work the next day. There'll be no risk of injury or anything like that. And you get that feel, you get that like little butterflies in the stomach, and it's safe, you know. So it's a great addition to Irish MMA, and I think it'll help bring on some more talent.
And you know what? I think some people would really, really like that, because some people are very much been like, I wouldn't mind trying a bit of MMA, but I don't really want to get punched in the face. So therefore, it's a nice way for them to. Yeah, it's a nice way for them to sort of get into the sport, test their skills, and not have to get worried about going home with black eyes.
Some people probably never leave novice. You know, it suits them, and it just gives the normal guy that's just training as a hobby somewhere to compete. You know, where at the minute there is nowhere for you to compete. If you're training MMA and you're busting your ass in the gym all the time, and you've nowhere to like win a medal or like compete without actually going amateur MMA, which is basically like Amateur MMA is no joke. There's high level guys. They all cut serious weight. They take it very serious. You know, it's very much nearly pro level for most of the guys. You know, so
I think you almost have to be like a heavyweight to do amateur MMA, and then be like sort of, I'm just gonna do 2 fights and then call it that. But like, if you do amateur MMA at any sort of where anyone's cutting weight, I mean, a lot of those guys have dreams to go on and fight for a living. So you can't rock in and be like, no, just do this for a bit of crack, and then someone there is like,
there is no crack, isn't it? It's like
it's no crack unless you win.
No, you know what I mean, though. It's like it's no joke. Like amateur MMA is no joke. It's anywhere, you know. It's like it's high level. Guys stick around to get the experience now. They're doing it properly, like amateur boxing. You know, they're racking up those wins, and you're dealing with high level martial artists, amateur level. You know, and for me, and some guys are sneaky as well. They don't like telling what background they have. So you could be sending a poor lad in to get sacrificed, you know. So like that's where we came up with the novice idea, and it just gives lads like a safe platform to compete under, you know, before taking that big step into amateur. And it is a big step. Like there is, like eventually I'd like to see Irish amateur MMA done in the IMAF format where it's like during the day, you know, and there's multiple fights throughout a week or whatever, or through a weekend or something like that, instead of having it at nighttime and in clubs or pubs and stuff like that. I think that's not amateur really, you know, and that's what happens. That's why lads are taking it. It's basically pro, you know. So that's
another thing. Sorry, with the IMAFs, aren't a lot of those guys almost selected to represent Ireland in the IMAFs, aren't they? Is that correct?
Yeah. Well, at the minute it's not there. Yeah, they are selected, right? But as we get through our shows, the selection is getting harder, and you have to have certain criteria to make the team. Whereas before, we were just kind of filling spots, filling places. But like again, that's not a good idea going out to the IMAS, because that is seriously high level out there. I was there, and that's like that's the future of amateur as well. There's guys out there with 20 fights, you know. And look at Dino Wade's young guy from CMAC. Those guys are all legit. They all have medals from all those IMAF tournaments, and there's no messing around with it, you know. And if you're going out there, you need to be taking it serious, and you need to have your diet in check. You need to have your strength and conditioning in check, and you need to be like on top of your game.
I was going to more so say, Phil, do you think you should actually have to win your spot at the IMAFs?
100%.
Almost like see the way Bellator always putting these Grand Prix together. You know what I mean? You sign up, there could be 32 bantamweights in Ireland. You will down 16, 8, 4, 2, 1. And then, you know, you have however many go from each weight class. I think that would be a great way of doing it. And there's no bias then being like, oh, well, they train out of that gym. You know what I mean? They have more pull than someone who trains out of that gym.
It's a great way to create stars as well.
Yeah, no, 100%. Like that, and that's the way it's heading, guys. We're you have to remember that Ireland's IMA is only getting going, and we're very new. The whole organization is very new. We're not recognized by the government yet. So like we're trying, and the guys are trying their best to get the best guys onto the team or onto those teams. Also, like not all clubs are interacting with IMA. So like you know, the top guys aren't always in the places, you know what I'm saying? But I think in the future everything's working towards that, and I think like some sort of a ranking system in Ireland for our amateurs, and that the top guys are the only guys that are allowed go, and if you're not in that top ranking, you can't get the opportunity to go, you know. So you have to work your way into those places before you ever are even seeded or even in with a chance of getting picked to go. Similar to the boxing idea with the high performance, that would be the ideal scenario for the Irish team in MMA as well eventually. But like it's very close, and I know it has its flaws at the minute, but I don't think it's biased towards what club you're coming from. If you're involved in IMA, you go to those trials and you'll get picked. If you're one of the top guys, you're going to get picked, you know. And like myself and Andy Ryan and Lee Moe from Cork were out at the last one. Paddy Hoolan was there, and we picked the guys that were there and they're available to us, who have presented themselves, you know. So
yeah, you can't get picked unless you show up.
Exactly. And look, like, hopefully, like, I know there's a big divide in the country at the minute with IMA, but I think if everybody comes on board and we keep plugging away and we make it work, we have to make it work, and then we'll start meddling more and more. And we have been meddling at those competitions, but we will make our presence known, and I think that's the future, 100%. It's really, really good setup, and it's like, yeah, it's like one of the best things I was involved with, to be honest. And I'm very, I'm jealous that I didn't get to compete at an IMF tournament myself before I went pro.
Yeah, no, I definitely think it's something that we need to look at as a country, and this needs to almost be like a regulation board for, to go forward. You know what I mean? Like, there's grassroots GAA, there's grassroots soccer, there's grassroots rugby. There needs to be grassroots MMA. And I think that the IMAFs are brilliant for that. And like, you need to be good, because like, you have people like Mohammed Makayev who are running up in there, you know what I mean? Who are 20-0, what's called, you know what I mean? You don't be rolling out of bed being like, making my debut here, because he actually ended up, I looked at his record. He fought like in like, he was like 16 or 17 now, and he fought someone in their amateur debut, and I was like, Jesus, the poor soul. You know what I mean? Like, that's not fair. You can't do that.
You're like, that's it. It's picked out of a hat, the first few fights. So like, you could end up fighting some like beast. And that's what I'm saying. Like, it has to be done properly. It has to be regulated. And like, I think the government have a big part to play in that. Like, they're pretending like MMA doesn't exist. Like, MMA is not
Phil, why
away.
Phil, sorry for interrupting you there.
Yeah.
Like, I was going to bring this up at some stage, but I was waiting for it to say it. Like, why? Like, what is wrong with the government, the way they won't look at it, the way like I look at it, or you look at it, or Ross looks at it? Because like myself and Ross, we put like so much of our time and life into like promoting like not only Irish MMA but MMA in general. And then when you see stuff like this happening, you're really sort of like, what the fuck is going on? Especially the way someone like lost a finger, and that's terrible to hear. Like, but like, you mentioned the one thing, you're not mentioning what everyone else is trying to do for all these other up and coming Irish athletes. It's like, what needs to be done here?
And before you start, Phil, I think for the 2024 Olympics, jiu-jitsu is actually going to be part of it as well. So like, that's another sport
no.
Olympics.
That was an April Fool's joke, man.
Well, then I hate April Fools, and like, I try and just turn off my phone for the day. But obviously, all that after April Fools.
Listen,
but like,
one of my mates, I was down with a friend of mine. He's a purple belt, and he was telling me, Phil, jiu-jitsu is going to be in the Olympics. He's like, they're changing the rules. You're allowed to do low kicks and there's no gi and all this kind of crack, and it's combat jiu-jitsu. I was like, that's amazing. I'm going for that. I'm going to go for that.
Jeez, I just made an absolute fool of myself.
You did, Ross. After you saying you hate it, I'm also like, but I think skateboarding is meant to be in it, so I don't see why jiu-jitsu shouldn't be. But Phil, what needs to be done, like over here in Ireland, for this to be seen as a real sport? Because because let me just put a bit of backing on it as well. Like, you've obviously seen the rise of Irish MMA. Obviously, Conor hitting the top, become the champ in the world's biggest MMA organization, and now we've gone back down a bit. Like, what needs to be done? Like, we've already been to the top, and they haven't. So like, what needs to be done now?
There has to be a clear separation as well from professional and amateur. Like, there is a separation in boxing. There's a separation, and prize fighting's different. Like, Conor does his thing in prize fighting. It's different than amateur MMA. And I just think there's a lot of guys in the government as well that are old school. They just don't want to, they won't lose this attitude that it's cockfighting, it's in a cage and all this crack. They just don't have any interest in learning the rules and seeing like the graft that goes in and the technique, and like,
yeah, it's beautiful to watch.
Of that, it's cockfighting. Like, get over it, will you? It's the most, like, you have to be so technical to compete in MMA. There's so much different aspects to it. Like, to say that it's just cockfighting is just, it's stupid, really, and it's an uneducated opinion, So like, I just think that, as with a lot of things in government, that the new people coming up, hopefully when the young people keep coming and they change the views on it, but it has to happen sooner than that. And I think also a problem with it is like old school martial arts as well, that are already recognized in Ireland. They don't want to see MMA coming through either, and they're holding it back just as much as the government are. So they just feel threatened by it, because we're the, like, when it comes to combat sports now, MMA is the #1 in the world, like, and that's it. And boxing are feeling it, and all of them are feeling it. And I've had students like that train boxing that wanted to compete in boxing and do MMA, and they're not allowed because the boxing clubs will ban them. If they compete in MMA, they're not allowed to compete in boxing, which is very old school. It's stupid. You need to just open up. Everybody can compete in everything, and just everyone can grow together.
That's a real Irish thing, though, isn't
view,
it?
you know.
That's a real Irish thing, isn't it? Like if you played football and then you went to play guy, you'd be like, right, well, you're off the football team.
You know,
Or,
like
you know what I
it's
mean?
stupid, you know, really. It's not, it doesn't make sense, you know, and we're all so close, as in, if you look from the outside, we're all a combat sport, you know, we all complement each other. And like I'd only love to have, I try to set up like my gym to be part of the boxing association as well. And I wanted to send fighters to do like the Leinsters and the Leash Carlos and all this crack and get them experience, but we weren't allowed because we have MMA on the premises, you know. And it's I think it's those clubs that are already recognized by the government and they're already Olympic sports, like the old martial arts and kickboxing and that. Once they start coming around, I think it'll help with the government because they're listening to like both sides, I suppose, as well. But I tell you another thing, like if the government don't get the finger out shortly, there will be more people getting hurt because we need regulation. We need to have proper, you know, system.
And then also with like MRI scans and stuff like that, and like actual checks, like they're very expensive, and a lot of those expenses go on the fighter or the fighter's team or sponsorship. So it does need some form of regulation.
Like at the end of the day, but when saying that, Ireland is the safest place to compete in MMA in the world. We have the most rigorous system. If you want to compete as an amateur in Ireland, we have the hardest possible protocols you have to get through. So like, you know, we're MMA in Ireland as a whole are trying their best to get the government to come on board. You know, we can't do much more, and everybody's working hard to get this to happen. So I think it will happen. It's going to happen. It's just these old school views need to get out of the way and just let it happen, you know.
Yeah, I think it's going to happen at some stage. It's sort of heartbreaking to have all these like Irish athletes. I know we've had people from abroad as well, but the amount of time and effort and everything they give up to fight for this one goal, and it can just be shut in their face by people that don't even know what they're talking about. It is sort of heartbreaking, Ross, isn't it? Like all the face-offs we've done 4 face-offs. All of them have been pulled, and it's just like you feel so bad for these people. You know?
Maybe the next wave of UFC talent that we have, you know, Dean Barry's been signed there recently. Ian Garry's been signed. You know, they're what's called good-looking lads, nice lads. They speak well. Maybe the government will be like, right, we'll get behind them. You know what I mean? I definitely think there's like class issues to it as well.
Yeah, 100%. Like, and we have good fighters coming through, and the likes of Ian and the guys like those guys are gonna lead the way again, and like they just need to like come on board, you know. And the problem is there is still a lot of like shady clubs and shady coaches that they have to be dealt with as well, you know. They should be like you have to get your credentials and you have to have coaching, and you know, like the sooner the better it all gets above board, like for everyone that's involved in the sport. And it's not like it's only a few people, it's massive now. So like just come on and get the finger out and get it sorted.
Do you think maybe the top sort of 10, 15 mixed martial arts gyms in Ireland should each have their own representative? They form a board, and then, you know, if someone wants to open up an MMA gym in Ireland, they have to show X amount of criteria to open up that gym, and that sort of starts off something. And then, you know, any form of regulation that's already been shown, then you can show, you know, the Minister for Sport, look, we're already doing this. I mean, when you get that budget in, we need to get something off you, you know, because I'm sure MMA are getting zero at the moment. The Irish government.
Yeah. Well, that's what IMA are doing at the minute. You know, you can go through IMAF and get your coaching credentials. You can sign up to like, look, the problem is everybody's not following the one system as well. So like, it's a kind of a divide in the MMA community as well, and like everybody has their own opinions on it. But I just see the bigger picture, and I think IMAF is the future, and IMA are set up and they're doing a good job. And you know, we're learning as we go along. There is courses already set up. You know, if you look at the guys up north, they're flying it as well. But look, everybody needs to come together. And if you don't fully support IMA, come onto the board and voice your opinion, and you get votes every year. And if you're not there to vote on these things, why complain about it? It's the same as like giving out about the government and you're not voting. You know, it's stupid, really. You know, so I just think everybody needs to come together, whether you agree with the system or not, and then keep putting your narrative on it and your opinion on it, and keep working towards making it the best it can be, you know. And the only way we can do that is if we all sit down and talk about it. Whereas if we're all shouting out abuse and saying should be the way it's done and that should be the way it's done, that's just stupid, you know. Like, let's grown adults come together and try and make it work for the good of MMA.
Yeah, I like also the way I like I mean it. See, I'll tell you something as well. When me and Ross, when we first started this, we were doing shows on nearly everything, like immigration to like having Gary Vaynerchuk on, right? But then Ross really wanted to go and start, like, we really wanted to push the MMA shows, and I was like, I wasn't overly confident in doing it, but and also in the back of my mind, I knew the government wasn't pushing like the MMA scene, and I enjoyed talking about football as well. So we sort of did a bit of both, and then we just went all in with the MMA because it was the one we loved the most, and it was the most real interviews. You know, the football ones were really you had to pass questions. It's like, how are you today? It's like, can I answer that? But like, no, the way I like absolutely love covering the sport, watching it like to the early hours, to the early days, like
but the personalities are better as well.
It's just everything, the backstory. Like, people are doing this to
players are
earn
way cooler than soccer players, boys.
There's a different story altogether. But I like the way now, like, obviously we brought up Ian, we brought up Ian Garry, we brought up Dean Barry, and then we brought up Matisse as well. Now the Brave doors are opening. Like, people thought it was UFC or bust, the same way footballers would think it's Premier League or bust. But like, there's a whole world out there that's watching this sport. Like, obviously there's the Bellators you've competed on yourself. Like, the way Cage Warriors is blowing up even more so now. And then, like, as I said, Brave, and then Dean was over in UAE Warriors, Ross.
KSW,
KSW. So there's so much more option that is like, you can make a career, and it doesn't have to be in the UFC. Well, here there's like Ross obviously brought up the Dean Barry situation. Like, he's been all over the world, and now he's signed with the UFC. I heard he's not able to get a visa right now, so like his debut has been put on ice. He was meant to fight the same night Katie Taylor's fighting. I think it's like 4th or 1st of May. 1st of May. But then, like, Ian Garry now, obviously you've trained with Ian. Like, I feel like this guy is the next thing. What do you think 100%. From watching his most recent performance as well?
100% at the minute. Like, he's leading the way in Ireland. Ian's a phenomenal athlete. He's very, very good.
For people that haven't seen Ian perform, Phil, like, what is it that you see, or what is it about Ian that they have to see if they haven't seen it?
Well, like, he's just for a start, he's very, very calm and relaxed and confident in his ability, you know, and that's the biggest start, you know, because if you don't have that confidence, if you're the most technical guy in the world, it's no good to you. So, like, he has that confidence, he has that ability to be calm under the pressure, and he performs on the night every time. Now, when it comes to his technical abilities, he's got serious hips. He's very hard to take down, you know. And what happens is, when a guy tries to take him down, it's so, like, you just lose. You're wasting so much energy trying to take him down. And then what's happening? He's a sharpshooter, so he's pinging you on the feet, you know. And he's just very exciting to watch. And like, those are the guys that are the hardest to beat, you know, because if you can't compete with their striking and then you can't get them down, it's demoralizing in there, you know. And you've seen it in his last fight. That guy was high level, you know, and Ian had his way with him, you know, and then he just picked him apart, you know. And it's exciting to see a guy like that coming through. He's just really hard. His hip, and then his grappling is really good. I think he's like a brown or black belt in judo as well, you know, and he's high level boxer before he started MMA. But Ian's top of the range, and it's exciting to see what he's doing, and I can't wait to see him on the big show, to be honest.
Yeah,
we don't know what's actually louder.
Hold on, Ross, I was going to ask you, but I was going to put in. Ian did his first ever proper, like, sit down podcast with us as well in Ross's house, wasn't Ross?
Yeah, it really, really was. And like, to this day, I don't know what's louder, Ian Garry's performances or his personality. Yeah. He is the total package. He really is.
Ross, what about him is, like, for people as well? Obviously, Phil, like, wrote a lot of stuff down there, but like, what for you? Like, Ross, you're massively high on this, like.
Well, first of all, he goes in there, he talks the talk and he walks the walk, and it's hard to actually beat that in MMA. That's exactly what you're looking for. He's going in there and he closed the show every single time. He really, really does. And he leaves relatively unscathed most times as well.
Every time.
People love seeing finishes on the feet. He can do finish on the feet. We've also seen him slip in a rear naked choke into his arsenal as well. Look, he goes from strength to strength. Every time before he fights, he comes on our show and he tells us, lads, I'm a million times better than I was the last time. And you sort of go, all right, grand, fair enough. And then you're like, geez, he was very good last time. Like, he couldn't improve that much. And then every time he gets in there, you're just like, geez, he's light years better than he was.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He would smash the previous version of himself.
Yeah. And now he goes to fight for the welterweight title in June or maybe July.
Yeah, June.
Yeah. It's going to be a great fight. Two really good guys. I think Ian's just that. He's just has the little bit of edge on him. He's going to be bigger than him as well. I think it's going to be a tough night for him.
Yeah, I think Ian could easily fight at middleweight, and this guy's coming up from lightweight to welterweight.
That's what I think. I think Ian's a bit of like a Darren Till. He'll fight welterweight, and then once he gets that bit bigger, he'll just go into middleweight.
Yeah. No, he's very good. I haven't
he
trained
loves
with him in
Pete
a
as well.
while. I'm looking forward to actually having an old session with him to see how much he's improved myself. Yeah,
just take him down. That's what I'd say. Take him down.
They're the famous words. Take him down. Take him down.
No,
easier said than done, huh?
Chris and Tom are just doing great things in Team KF, and it's brilliant to watch. You know, I mean, just watching the rise of them as well. But like, obviously, like you're doing your own thing now. You've been going over the Bahrain with Matisse. Like we watched that fight. I like the way Brave's actually on like at a decent hour as well. It's almost like it's like 4 in the afternoon. It's a nice time. But like having gone over the Bahrain and just saw what it was like. First of all, the entrance was unbelievable. It's like coming out of a castle. I couldn't believe what was going on there. But like, what's it like being over there? Like we had Blaine on the show. Like he was telling us that it was like being on Fight Island. He said.
We got off the bus, man, and I was there, and I was looking. Basically, the event was in this old castle. Like it was
almost like a Colosseum looking thing, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was savage. I was so jealous. Straight away, I was like, outdoor, big man-made like roof over the cage, lights, production everywhere. It was like big, massive, long walkout, and like they're next level. They're really set it up. And I tell you, I've been involved with a lot of shows, you know, UFC, Bellator. I've been backstage at UFC with the guys. Like Brave are top notch. They are top notch. And they look after the fighters next level. You know, we were there in the hotel. We were in our little bubble. We were tested every day. You know, you get a menu, your food sent to your room. You know, like if you need something, you ring one of those guys, and like it's within an hour. You know, they really look after the fighters, and it's a pleasure to be involved with Brave, and I'm excited to see them grow, and because they've been in more countries than the UFC now. They're everywhere, guys.
What is it, like 19 or 20 odd countries in their first 50 shows?
Insane. It's insane.
Very, very impressive. You know? And then shout out to, is it Phil Campbell on commentary?
Yeah, Phil. We've a great Irish tie with him. Like it's like being in a local show out in Bahrain. You know, everyone you meet, the cook crew are all Irish. You know, the commentators are Irish. The referees are all Irish. I
was wondering that, because they shouted out our video a couple of times. I was like, that must be so random for their their native followers, you know, with that, like the Irish guys promoting stuff as well. But like that's probably something you dreamed of being part of in the build up, and these lads have it just on the rise. But like obviously, like I don't want to stick in this now, but Matisse obviously, like, he lost that fight. It was a brilliant fight to watch. But like, how do you, as a coach now, how do you deal with having like one of your star students come out receive the first loss? Like what way was it hard for you to deal with that? Like, what way did you to be honest, what way did you speak to him after, you know?
I was wondering what way he would take a loss, you know, and it's something you have to worry about fighters when they do take a loss, how they react to it. And he reacted really well to it, to be honest. You know, he was disappointed, obviously, that he lost, but we looked it back, you know, and I think, like, if it had been anywhere else, he could have won that first round. You know, it was very, very close round. They gave it to the wrestler, you know, but if it had been another country and a different set of rules, it could have been our round, and then the fight was ours. Then obviously he took the guy, or he dropped the guy with a head kick, rocked him bad, and he was very close to finishing the fight. Made a wrong little error of judgment, knows that himself, and he's already back in the gym and he's working. He's actually out in Dubai. He done that camp in Dubai. So like, the man is growing every single fight. He's another exciting prospect. He's very close, you know, to getting onto a big show. He's a finisher, you know, and he's one of these guys that train in the gym. Like he's always looking to improve. He does the right things. He's not killing himself, you know, and then fight night, he unleashes a new version of himself every time. And some people can't perform under the lights, but Matisse is one of the guys that switches on fight night, and he seems to always bring the show, you know. I think he was very unfortunate to lose that fight, and I think like 9 out of 10 times he beats that guy. But listen, it'll probably be the best thing to happen to him, and I'm looking forward to seeing him back in the Brave cage, and I think like he will be a title contender very soon.
I was going to say, I actually sent him a voice note after the fight, and you know, all he sort of picked on was his mistake, and he was like, if I didn't make that mistake, I would have won it. But it wasn't in a, sort of somber attitude. It was in a, I learned from that won't happen again attitude. And I think someone with that attitude, is someone to look out for in the future, that he will do big things. It almost reminded me of like a top Premier League footballer at some stage, where, I think it was, I was listening to Ruud van Nistelrooy give his insight where, the team won 4-1 or something, he didn't score and he wasn't happy, It was just one of those things where it was like, man, you should be happy, like, and that's the hunger in him, man. He, like Barry said, like his striking was very much on point, and he was keeping that Dagestani grappler at bay for majority of the fight. And like you said, Phil, if it was in a different country, it could have been scored a different way.
Like we have a good system for dealing with these Dagestani wrestlers, to be honest with you, and it's anti-wrestling. And like I think every fight that he goes into, he's going to get more and more good at using those techniques. And I'm telling you, he's going to shut down those guys. Somebody with that hunger as well, and he's young. The world is his oyster, so it's exciting times, and I'm just delighted that he's part of SBG Portarlington, and we're getting to go worldwide, and we're such a young club, so it's great. Yeah,
that's what I was thinking. I was like, you must be so proud of him there, that being your student. What do you prefer more, Phil? Do you prefer going and competing yourself, or actually being a coach?
It's hard to beat the feeling of competing yourself. And it's hard for me at the minute because I'm kind of splitting myself in two between coaching and I'm still fighting myself. Now, in fairness, with COVID, everything was gone quiet on my side of things. So I've been able to like do a bit more. But Matisse actually done his camp in Dubai this time around because the restrictions in Ireland is just holding back too much. Yeah. But for me, I'm still a fighter at the minute. I love both, though. I get such a thrill out of cornering as well. And like, I'm sure if you've seen any of the fights with Matisse or any of the guys when they're winning, I'm in there with them, and I'm taking the blows and I'm giving the blows with them.
You're holding the belt up.
Yeah, like I really am in it with them, and I feel everything, and I feel their losses, and I also feel their wins just as much. And like, for sure, it's going to be the future for me. I still have a couple of fights left in myself, and like it'll be hard to choose between both of them, but the main thing is it's MMA, and I'm going to be involved in MMA for a long time to come. So I'm happy that not everybody gets to earn a living from MMA, and I am, and it's one thing I'm very grateful for.
Amen.
There we have it, Basma. Well, I think that sort of almost wraps up the local MMA scene, and maybe an incoming pending return from the Honey Badger at some stage to a cage near you.
Yeah, but Ross, it was actually like this is sort of the questions we ask each other. Why isn't why isn't Irish MMA being put up more of a pedestal? And then like, obviously, thanks, Phil, for filling in the blanks and some of this stuff for everyone. So if you are new to the show, make sure to like and subscribe. Okay, like, obviously, like, that was one thing we planned on bringing Phil on for the show, but then obviously over the weekend it was announced Conor McGregor is taking on Dustin Poirier for the third time on July 10th. Ross?
Yeah. Correct, Basmo.
Correct. Yeah. UFC 260.
Yeah.
UFC 263.
264, maybe 264. 264.
The decider, huh?
The decider. So, Phil, like, obviously,
Super Bowl weekend. Well, or what was Super Bowl weekend?
So, like, Phil, this is
fans. We're going to have fans at it, yeah.
They will have fans there.
Yeah.
They have fans at UFC 261
Great,
in Jacksonville, Florida, and they have fans at UFC 262 in Houston, Texas. So as long as, obviously, they'll intend on having fans at it. Obviously, it's going to depend on which way the pandemic goes, but I'm sure they'll go somewhere where they can have some sort of audience. Even if they have to go back to Fight Island, they'll probably do that. But I think they need to have fans for that fight.
Yeah, listen, like, I just think it's time to start getting back to trying anyway and getting back to normality and get fans in there, whatever way it has to be, at limited capacity or whatever way we can do it.
I miss it so much, man. I miss it so much. Like, it's actually so.
Isn't it not the same? It's not the same anyway without the fans, isn't it? You need the fans back as well.
You know what? You need them drunk fans swinging out of you.
I'm not gonna lie. Sometimes I like when there's no fans there because you get like that almost intimate feeling and you can hear what's being said and you're like, this is great. But then also, like, for the big shows, you want the big night feel.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. I'm almost like for the fight nights. For the fight nights, I don't mind the no fans. But when it's the pay per view, I want to hear eruptions go off.
Yeah, no, 100%.
Especially when Ngannou won the title, like imagine winning the title in the Apex, like it's just not the feeling you're looking for.
He could have won that in
fight.
Africa as well.
He's a beast of a man, isn't he?
Oh, stop.
His story is incredible, isn't
it? You don't know how often I ask Baz, how much money would it take to get you in an octagon with Francis Ngannou?
Yeah, how much would it take you, man? Would you get rid of COVID for it? Would you? One round with Francis. Yeah, one round with Francis, and you get rid of COVID for the world, man. Would you take it on?
I'd give a crack on him. I'm a fighter, lads. I'll go give it a crack on him. If I take him down, he's no jiu-jitsu. That's one thing.
You'll just choke him out like it'd be easy as pie.
Oh, man, his sprawl was good in the last fight, though.
Yeah, that's the only thing.
That actually was. That was very good.
I know. It's an incredible story. It's like such a good, it's like a heartwarming story. For a guy to come from that background and now he's on top of the world is amazing.
It's unbelievable.
Phil, have you been practicing your Umanari rolls? Because you could try one of them.
His leg's too big; it won't work.
He is a massive specimen. But I feel like obviously that fight was announced and like the internet like blew up. Like obviously it's announced now, so it doesn't matter. Like, do you think if you should have fought Poirier or maybe even the Diaz trilogy next, which we'll get onto after? When you heard the fight was announced, like, what did you think straight away?
That's Conor. Like, I'd say Conor was pushing for it, and fair play to Dustin. I think it's a big money fight for both guys, you know, and like everybody was kind of giving out about Poirier not going for the title. Like, should a man's there to make money too? He can always come back, and I'm sure like Dustin's a real fighter as well, so like he wants to put to bed the trilogy too, you know, and this decides it. So I was excited to see that Conor was getting a chance to redeem himself from the last one. And you know, I think everybody spoke about that he went heavy in boxing and all that crack, and sure, it's easy from the outside to tell the guy what he done wrong and what he done right, but everybody knows how good Conor is, you know. He's one of the top fighters in the world. I'm excited to see the third fight between the two guys, two absolute warriors, you know, and it's going to be an exciting fight. I think if Conor makes the adjustments, I think he'll take the fight. I think he rocked him a couple of times in the last one. So, but you can't count Dustin Poirier out either. So it's a brilliant fight. I can't wait to see it, to be honest. But obviously, I'm biased, and my Conor
biased for Dustin,
Conor gets it done.
Biased for Dustin, are you? Ross, what you make of this matchup, man? This is the fight everyone wanted. Now it's game on. What do you think?
Well, the first time we actually saw Conor McGregor lose a fight in the UFC was to Nathan Diaz, and it was a famous fight. And it was 168 days later, Conor McGregor returned to the octagon and avenged that defeat. The last time Conor McGregor lost was against Dustin Poirier, and it's going to be 167 days after from the first defeat.
That's insane.
So if you're trying to tell me Conor McGregor can't make adjustments in that period of time, you're dead wrong. I feel like Conor McGregor is going to make all the adjustments he needs to make in this fight and get the job done. At the end of the day, Conor's boxing looked very sharp in that fight. He was dinging Dustin Poirier in the first round. He actually wobbled Dustin Poirier at one stage. And, you know, it was almost un-Conor-esque that he didn't go in for the kill. Yeah. You know what? I think he was out for so long. He was missing his time in there, and he was enjoying himself in there.
It's the one time he doesn't get it. It's one time people don't interrupt him and all. Oh, even though I just interrupted you, but you get it.
Yeah, but it's one of those things where he was actually enjoying himself in there. He hadn't been in there for so long, and it's one of the few times where he's one of the few fighters who you can actually tell genuinely enjoys being in there and putting his trade to work. And I think, look, put it this way, I suppose all he's going to do is he's probably going to adapt a different stance, and I think he's going to, you know, obviously be aware of that low calf kick. Once those two things are adjusted, I don't think Dustin Poirier is going to be able to cope with that. And I think Dustin Poirier shocked Conor with the early takedown, and it was a good clean shot. But I don't think he's going to be able to get that clean shot, especially if Conor changed that stance, that more karate style stance.
Yeah,
the hips are a bit wider, and is a much harder takedown. And like you were saying earlier, Ian Garry has very good hips. Conor McGregor's takedown defense is one of the best in the UFC lightweight division. And then also, his ability to get back up to his feet is actually frighteningly good. He does a little bump scoot to the cage and gets back up off his back. No one ever talks about it, but that's what he does. And it works nearly every single time.
Giving away the secrets?
I think you said something right
sequence.
there, though, man. The fact that you're going to see the bouncy Conor back that's spinning, you know, and he's light on the feet, you know, and he's in and out, and it's that mixed martial arts style, you know, that won him the belts. That's the guy you're going to see back, you know. You're not going to see the boxer Conor McGregor back. You're going to see the mixed martial artist back, and that's going to be the difference, you know. He has just too many tools in his arsenal for Dustin, I think, when he fights that way, you know, and he's light on the toes and he's spinning and he's throwing unorthodox shots at you, and then he's hitting you hard with his boxing, you know. So I'm excited to see him rebound from this one, to be honest.
And I don't think he's also going to be overlooking Poirier this time. I think he was almost overlooking Poirier, looking at a Pacquiao fight down the line. And I don't think he will be looking at a boxing fight down the line. I think he knows that, you know, it's not quite make or break, but I'm sure in his mind it's make or break. I have to beat Dustin Poirier. This is very important to his career, this trilogy. I mean, it's even though sometimes you watch a trilogy, like you watch DC versus Miocic, and you're like, if they did it 4th time, maybe DC might win. You know what I mean? Like, you rarely get that 4th fight in MMA. So I do think that you know, him winning the trilogy is definitely important.
I think Conor's in a stage of his career now where he's there to fight because he loves fighting, you know, besides what anybody says about it. And I actually don't think he gives a fuck about, you know, losing or winning anymore. He's going back in there to try and perform at his highest level, you know, and I'm excited to see that version of Conor too. It's coming from a different angle and a different position in life as well. So, you know, I think he definitely hasn't lost it, and he's going to come back stronger than ever.
And I think the other disappointing thing about Conor being such a superstar now is that because he's such a big superstar, you actually have to like place him on a pay-per-view somewhere down the line. You can't actually put him on another pay-per-view with the other champions, because like the UFC stars have to shell out all the money to the champions because of Conor McGregor's pay-per-view boys. You have to wait for a pay-per-view to not have a headliner and go, right, well, we can put Conor in there. Or what they've done in the past is just created his own pay-per-view, because that's who that man is.
And that's it. That's the fact, though. He sells the fights, you know, and whether you like it or not, that's the way it is, you know. So let's make the McGregor belt the fuck, and we'll see that in the line, huh?
I'm sure they'll sell a load of them.
Do you think the winner of Michael Chandler versus Charles Oliveira will be cage side ready to step in and face the winner of that?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's the only thing that makes sense, isn't it? Really, has to be that, you know, the winner of those. Yeah, I think Michael Chandler listen, Michael Chandler's a beast. And I think he's after talking his way, and he performed his way into a title shot. But I think the winner of Conor and Dustin 100% will fight for the title.
Do you actually think the winner of Conor versus Dustin is actually the battle for the best lightweight? Because obviously Dustin Poirier, after his win over Conor, is number 1, but I'd rank Conor ahead of both Charles Oliveira and ahead of Michael Chandler. So do you think the winner of that almost gets to fight? It's like luckily defend their belt against the bigger superstar.
No, I think it's just it's a little money making scheme for the boys before they go for the title, and it just clears the dust and it settles the beef between them, you know. And I think they had a different perspective on the last fight even, and there was a lot of money donated to charity and all that crack, and I think that's why Dustin's after taking that fight as well. He respects what Conor he held his word, and he donated to his charity, you know. So I think that had a lot got to do with him taking the rematch as well so soon. So I just think it's great to see two warriors gonna sort it out in the cage, you know, for the 3rd time, and then the better man goes on to fight for the title. It's exciting.
Who do you think the champ will be, lads? Charles Oliveira is taking on Michael Chandler for the vacant lightweight title on May 15th at UFC 262.
I think Chandler takes it.
I think if it gets to round 3, I think Oliveira will take it. I think Chandler's going to have to get it done in the 1st, 2nd round. I think he definitely has the power to get it done. He is fast. You know what I mean? He sort of almost has a Tyson-esque style. That's where his nickname's done from. You know, he's got a lot of sort of head movement, and he weaves and bobs, and he hits the power shots. Also, I don't think Oliveira, despite how good his wrestling looked against Tony Ferguson, is going to be able to take Michael Chandler down. So I do think Chandler will get the job done round 1 or 2, but if it gets 3, 4, and 5, Chandler fades a bit, and Oliveira's jiu-jitsu becomes very slick and a real problem.
Yeah,
Cosmo?
100%.
I think Dana just definitely wants Chandler versus Conor. But the thing is, like Phil, you just said there, make Conor his own sort of belt. Like it was just announced over the weekend as well. Leon Edwards is fighting Nate Diaz in the welterweight division at UFC 262 as well. So that's a great card as well. So you never, like, obviously you know Conor, but you never know. He could be like, I don't even want the lightweight title shot. I want to fight Nate Diaz next.
Yeah,
Or maybe Leon puts out a great performance and he's like, you know what, I want to fight Leon.
Yeah, 100%. Like, and Conor's unpredictable like that, and he doesn't care about. Hey, listen, but I'm sure he does want to win one of those new UFC belts.
Definitely.
And he doesn't have
The
one
Power Ranger one.
Yeah, he doesn't have it in the wardrobe yet, so I'm sure he wants to win one of them. But that's another cracking fight, Leon and Nate. But I think Leon will win that one. I think he's just a little bit better than Nate, but I don't know. You can't write off a Diaz either, can you?
No,
you beat him all day, and he's standing there and he's still swinging at you in the last round, huh?
You know what, Phil? I'll go one better than that, and I think Leon Edwards at this stage of his career is a lot better than Nathan Diaz.
Yeah.
I think his boxing that he showed against Belil in that first round, it looked really, really good, and he's very, very hard to take down. He's also obviously not at all similar to Usman style, but up against the cage and against the fence, he's very, very good. He throws in those short elbows really, really well. So I don't know. I just think Leon Edwards, he's such a disabler. You know what I mean? Whatever you're good at, he'll shut you down, and he closed the distance. He's
so
a beast.
Many tools. Like the man is like he's a technical machine, isn't he? Like, but that gym he's coming from in Birmingham,
Renegade.
Man, there's a lot of killers coming out there these days. It's a sick gym,
yeah. Tom Breeze, Fabian as well.
Yeah, I think Tom is one of the coaches there, is he?
He is, yeah. And don't forget Aaron Chalmers, his brilliant career.
Who?
Aaron Chalmers, Aaron from Geordie Shore. Don't forget about him.
Is he training there as well? Yeah,
he was. Then he moved to he moved to SPG Manchester. I think
he's done now, though, isn't he?
Yeah,
done.
Yeah. Joy Herbert as well. Is how that?
Yeah, another like great scrapper. Yeah, very good.
Was Nathaniel?
Nathaniel Fredericks as well.
Yeah, middleweight cage warriors
champion. Yeah, and then Fabian was on about 2 weeks ago, and he named just about 4 or 5 other guys on the up and up. So
that's a sick list of fighters we just named out there coming from that Renegade gym. Like so.
Yeah, also, what they're doing from there.
Also, what they're doing around Birmingham as well.
No easy rounds over there, huh?
No. What they're doing around Birmingham as well, trying to tell people to put the weapons down and
yeah.
You know, I mean, like they're just doing great things for the area as well.
Cool guys, down to earth, solid guys. Yeah, fair play.
Jamaican sensations.
Yeah, exactly. I'd like to see Leon getting his title shot. To be honest, like he doesn't talk the bravado and all the bullshit, but like he deserves a shot, you know. And I think if he puts out Diaz, they might give it to him. It'll raise his profile.
This is his big opportunity now.
Although it would be hilarious to see Masvidal somehow beat Usman and then Diaz somehow beat Leon Edwards and then have the rematch for the BMF and welterweight title.
Yeah.
That would be a brilliant storyline too. Hey, Masvidal bet lumps out with Diaz though, didn't he? It wasn't a contest at all.
Absolutely, but when Nate Diaz ever gets stopped hurt, he can always say he doesn't reach his peak till the 4th and 5th round. the zombie, as McGregor calls him, the Mexican warrior.
Yeah,
lads,
not fading yet. It's like crazy, like
who Nate Diaz. Yeah, he's still looking young.
Solid, still, like, you know, after all those years of getting like thumped around, and he has been thumped around a lot of times, like he's still going strong.
No, he's still rocking it. Lads, I'll just get on to this weekend's card, but before we let Phil go back to raising the next proteges of Ireland. But this weekend, right, Marvin Vettori's taking on Kevin Holland. Kevin Holland's after stepping in on, I think, about 8 days' notice. Marvin Vettori was meant to fight Darren Till. There was actually talks if Till won this, he'd be pushed up to fight Adesanya next, which is madness. But lads, what do you expect this weekend? Marvin Vettori taking on Kevin Holland, who just lost about 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Ross, you want to go first?
Who you going to first? Me? No problem. You know what? I actually think this fight suits Kevin Holland better than Derek Brunson did. I think Vettori will stand in the pocket with him. He will trade blows. The only thing is I do think Vettori has the ability to get Kevin Holland to the ground, and he's thicker than a Snickers. He's got a massive big back on him. He's very, very strong. There is a chance that Kevin Holland can pull off the upset here. But I'm going to go with Vettori. I think he's going to maybe 4th round TKO. I think he's going to probably take him down, get him to the ground, and ground and pound him out. although we will have an entertaining fight. Anytime Kevin Holland's in there, there's always a potential for fight of the night. And he is Mr. Anybody, Anywhere, Anytime.
Yeah.
Phil?
I think Holland is going to have to come out and try and redeem himself after the last performance, and he's going to have a bit of a B underneath his bonnet. He's going to want to go after Vettori. I pick Vettori though. I think he's going to be too big and too strong for him. And like you said, if it doesn't go his way on the feet, I think he has the tools to take Holland down and hold him down and grind out a win or TKO him in the later round. So,
do you think Khabib's going to be in Kevin Holland's corner?
is he going into his
like the last fight?
Yeah,
Khabib
I
was
seen it. Yeah.
Brilliant.
But in fairness, he only gave him coaching voice in the 5th round. And he went in there and he got a takedown on Derek Brunson. That's not easy.
That's Hey, what I seen somewhere there, Khabib's 4-0 now as a coach, huh?
He is, yeah. I never knew we were throwing coaches' records up on the screen, but when it comes to Khabib, that's what they're going to do.
He said he's going for 30 and only.
Yeah.
I'm going to go for Vettori in this one as well. He was just very impressive. But this card's actually looking pretty good. Sadiq Yusuf's fighting Arnold Allen. Our mate Ross Sam Alvey's fighting Julian Marquez. Miley Cyrus's favorite fighter. Nina Ansaroff is fighting Mackenzie Dern, and Mike Perry is fighting Daniel Rodriguez. That should be a bit. That should be a banger. That should be a banger. But lads, over the weekend, Patricio Pitbull won the semi-final of the featherweight Grand Prix in Bellator. He's now fighting AJ McKee. Phil, who do you think is going to win this final? Patricio Pitbull or AJ McKee?
It's hard to bet against Pitbull, isn't it? He's been on a tear. But AJ McKee is high level too. I think Brian Moore done really well against AJ, and
he did. I think he was 2 rounds up going into
and he was landing big shots on him. So Pitbull lands a few of those bombs on him, and it could be an early night for him. So the thing about it is, isn't it? Pitbull has that power, so AJ only has to make one mistake and the fight's over. So I think it's going to be a close fight, but I think Pitbull's going to do it.
It's actually quite a strange one, because you're looking at being AJ's wrestling is obviously very, very high level. AJ's dad Antonio was a brilliant mixed martial artist himself. He's grown up doing it. He's a legitimate protege. I heard someone describe AJ McKee as almost like the Tiger Woods of MMA.
Yeah.
I mean, he just doesn't have quite the name recognition yet, but he was born doing this. You know what I mean? So he looks very, very legit. I've always had question marks of him ever since I saw how well Brian did, because Brian showed up on, I think it was 10 days notice, and said no bother, I'll give, and he gave him all he could handle. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm like, a guy from a lower weight class, gave him a bit of a hiding, and he sort of he escaped by the skin of his teeth, but he's looked brilliant ever since that. He has his own sort of modified guillotine chokes and everything now. But Patricio Pitbull, geez, it's very hard to pick against him. The number 1 pound for pound fighter in Bellator.
Two weight classes,
double champ, knocked down Michael Chandler.
Yeah, knocked down Michael Chandler.
Jeez. I've talked myself into it. Patricio Pitbull, I think, is going to get the win here. I think he's going to hand AJ McKee his first ever loss. The more I think about it, and the more you bring up Patricio Pitbull's accolades, the more I'm like, he's the man.
Hard to bet against the man.
I'm going to go for AJ McKee, lads, just to pick it. So one of us will be right, you know what I mean, Phil, But this weekend on Bellator, Ryan Bader they're kicking off the light heavyweight Grand Prix. Ryan Bader, the champ, the heavyweight champ, is fighting Lyoto Machida for the second time. Lyoto beat him the first time in the UFC. Phil, I'll go to you first. Who do you think is going to win this light heavyweight Grand Prix? And then also, who do you think is going to win this fight?
It's good to see Anthony Johnson back, isn't it? Rumble's back too.
Young man, Rumble.
I'll have the popcorn ready that night.
Man, isn't he? Scary man. I don't know. It's hard to know with his time off and everything. I think he's just a dangerous man. And he's put on great performances against the best in the UFC. I was surprised to see him leave the UFC, to be honest, when he was going to continue fighting. But I think Rumble is going to win the tournament. But I think I'm going to go with Bader against Machida.
Ross, what about yourself?
Machida's on the way out. He has some Like he's not as quick as he used to be. So I think Bader will smother him.
I am actually going to pick Machida in this fight just because ever since Bader's gone up to heavyweight, I think it actually takes too much out of him to get back down to light heavyweight. I think when he gets in there at light heavyweight, he's not the same. He put on all that muscle mass to deal with the big boys, and I think he's better off sticking around a heavyweight. But again, you know what I mean? Machida relies a lot on his speed and his precision, and if he put it this way, if he doesn't get the job done early, I think he might be in trouble. And he's gotten a bit chinnier himself in his older age.
Father time catches up on everybody.
That's exactly it. But I think in terms of favorites to this, look, the right hand side of the bracket with Vadim Nemkov, Phil Davis, Rumble Johnson, Yoel Romero is absolutely stacked. I think that's possibly, you could even argue, they're the 4 best fighters in the bracket. But I actually like Corey Anderson just because I think he might be able to get to the finals unscathed, and not taking damage along the way could be a big factor in a tournament. So I'm going to say Corey Anderson. Also, no one knows the guy who he's fighting in the first round, which helps.
Yeah, for this one, I'm going to agree with you, Phil. I couldn't let you go without agreeing with you. I'm going to go for Bader, and then the winner of the whole Grand Prix, I'm going to go for Nemkov as well. But lads, like, we've covered everything. We've had the absolute crack. Phil, is there anything else you want to say before we let you go to all your adoring fans that just can't wait to see you at Gamma?
Listen, keep an eye on our social media for Gamma. Big things coming, hopefully sooner rather than later. I think we're coming to the end of all this pandemic, and big things coming for next year. And I have my MMA fitness coming out as well, so keep an eye on my social media. And I like the look of Brave, so you could be seeing me there sooner than everyone thinks.
Hopefully so.
Lads, always a pleasure.
Oh no, absolutely. Hopefully it would be great to see you corner Matthias in one fight, and then him corner you in the next fight, back-to-back fights.
Player manager, huh?
Yeah,
That's
it, man.
Play goalkeeper.
Phil, absolute pleasure to have you on. Always a great story with the whole Philip Mulpeter. If you are watching this show, guys, make sure to like, share, subscribe, and as always, stay energized.